also on the flip side of like feeling that deeply into like maybe the harder parts, you also get to feel that deeply into the lighter parts. And oh my God, what can unfold when you start truly feeling those parts? It's like being high all the time. I mean, not all the time, just in the good parts, no? But
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Fully Blooming. I am beyond excited because I've got my bestest friend on the episode this week, and we've been talking about it for a while and it's finally happening. And I'm so grateful to her for showing up here today and for wanting to share the space with me and to share what we're going to share about now. And we'll talk about a little bit about how we met because it was very special and very magic and very aligned. But for me, Em has opened my heart beyond belief. She has inspired me so much to continue to show up. And something that actually we'll touch on later is that she continues to see me, whatever mood I'm in, whatever emotion I'm moving through, whatever I'm moving through in that moment, she continues to hold me and see me in that version of my higher self. And it's, yeah, all the goosebumps. And it's such a rare thing. And we wanted to do this podcast because, well, this episode, sorry, because we realized that we both kind of do that for each other, but also that we don't actually maybe have that with so many friends, or it's quite a rare thing to experience. So she is an absolutely incredible, inspiring, just empowering, strong, all of the amazing things. I could just go on and on and on, but it's such an honor and I'm so grateful. And not only to have her on this podcast, but to have her in my life. And I always ask, like, what did I do so well in a previous life? Or what I've got some good karma somewhere for this angel to have dropped into my life. So thank you for being here, Em. And yeah, welcome to Fully Blooming.
thank you so much. That's such a beautiful intro. I'm right back at you. Honestly, I was actually reflecting on this a bit this morning, on my dog walk, and I was just like, I mean, I think about it daily. I'm like, thank God for all that. Like, whenever I'm having a bit of a moment where it's a bit rocky in the road, and I'm just doubting myself, or just something happens that just doesn't feel good, I'm like, I honestly think that you are a huge credit to why I'm still doing what I'm doing. Like, especially with business, I think there are so many moments where I've been like, this is so hard, and then I just come to you, and I'm just like, yeah, it's that thing. Like, you remind me of my own power, my own abilities, like why I need to keep showing up. And it's a really special thing in a friendship. So thank you for being you, and thank you for inviting me on. I'm so happy to be here.
I feel like we could go on and just like bounce back and forth, being like, "No, I love you because of this. No, I love you," and just be like, "Oh, and you, and this, and I forgot this." So there might be a few
Yeah.
things that pop up throughout. Be like, "Oh, and this. She also does this, which is amazing." Um, but would you like to share a little bit about what you do? And yeah, you mentioned your business, so yeah, what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, as Ola said, I'm Em, and yeah, my business is called Soul Health. I'm an empowerment coach. I trained as a health coach with IIM, and then my own personal story moved me into empowerment coaching, which is where I am now. I'm in England right now, but I've been living in Mexico, and I'm going back to Mexico in less than 2 weeks, which is exciting. Um, and yeah, it's magic. I run an ecstatic dance there every Sunday. I've done a lot of exciting things are kind of developing in that space. I did my yoni massage training um, earlier this year from Mexico, and there'll be a lot more exciting trainings and workshops and things coming up there. So happy to be going back soon. Yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Hmm. Wow, yeah. And
Mm.
I love that these things have, you went to Mexico with kind of a few intentions, but the ecstatic dance and the yoni massage and all of the work that you did, that was just very like natural, and it just really like those are things that you just called in and magnetized in. So it's been so amazing to like watch you bloom into those things, and the fact that you're going back to like work on those things I think is just amazing, and I'm so excited to see what happens this year with you out there, because I think last year, like we spoke about privately, but you know, the first time that you go out somewhere, it's very different to then when you go back and you know what to expect, and you kind of have more of a routine, or you kind of have more of an expectation or a structure or things. So yeah, I'm so excited to see what you create and bloom into out there. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to actually talk a little bit about the yoni massage, because I don't
Yeah.
think I know that wasn't something we touched upon earlier when we were like going through this, but actually as that came up, I was like, that's something that like I think so many people. I mean, I only heard or discovered a little bit earlier last year, and like you taught me so much when you were going through the process as well. But yeah, if you wanted to touch a little bit about that, I would love you for to share.
Yeah, so it's something that might sound a bit crazy and a bit foreign if you haven't really heard about it before. Certainly for me, I was introduced to it in Mexico. And then, yeah, I did a few women's retreats with a really good friend, and then she was teaching us to learn how to hold yoni massages. So the
Can I pause you
yoni,
there quickly? I think you're about to go into it anyway. So I was like, if someone doesn't know what the yoni is, as I was listening, I was like, oh God. Sorry, I'll zip my
so
mouth.
yeah, the yoni is the Sanskrit term for the womb space. So the massage it's a whole body massage, and then it's external and internal massage. And the kind of purpose of it is the intention behind it is multitude of things. It can be to release trauma, it can be to release stuck energy, limiting beliefs. It can connect you or release past partners. It can reactivate pleasure in your body. Areas that for women, a lot of us, we haven't connected to all of the areas of pleasure that we have inside. So yeah, just massaging that spot, and then we can activate it. And then through that, you can also do like your own yoni massage. It's an incredibly powerful practice. But a lot of different things come up for people, and you can't predict it. Sometimes, I mean, I've had ones where I've just been like lying on the floor, like crying my eyes out. And then I've also had extremely pleasurable experiences. I've also had some where I was just like really numb and wasn't really feeling anything. Like it's really, yeah, it's really beautiful. And yeah, I mean, as women, our power is like stored in our womb space. So um, it's releasing and accessing that power, so we can keep stepping into it.
Mm, I love that. And
Yeah.
that's something that I also kind of delved into last year, this kind of realizing how much trauma and how much emotion and energy we store in our wombs as women. And I think the first time I heard it, I was like, what the hell? Like, and maybe some people have thought that right now. So if you have, like, that's absolutely fine, because I think it is still, but even using that to be like, oh, that's my reaction to it, we're more than happy to get a massage everywhere else on the body. But actually we've got, I'm not sure the scientific details of it, but like we've got so many muscles within our womb. And I don't know, I remember someone saying, you know, if you are in a car and someone pulls out in front of you and you panic, you instantly tighten that area of your body. And it's kind of that, and then we keep doing that throughout our life, and we never have the chance to relax. We never have the chance to just let it be and just let it, yeah, get released, whether it's through our own massage or through someone else doing it. So I think it's hopefully becoming a much more accepted thing, and a really necessary thing. If we get a massage for the rest of the body, why on earth would we not massage that area as well? But I
Yeah,
think
and it's really
there's,
beautiful. If sometimes I've done a massage on the same person twice, like recurring. So the first time it might be really tight, and I can feel like a lot of tension in the muscle. And then as we gradually work through it, like the next time you can feel that the muscle is so much more relaxed, and it responds really quickly. You can release the tension really easily if you just know how to do it, rather than just keeping all of that stored energy there, as you said.
yeah. And I guess so a big element of it is like creating a safe space, right? Because obviously it is a very intimate, I guess vulnerable for a lot of people, and quite a very personal experience, right? So it's not that you're just going to turn up and just turn up and say to anyone like, oh yeah, you'll do. I feel like you've got to build up like a relationship with that person who's doing it beforehand, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole process is like you really ease in gently, and the whole thing is like 3 to 4 hours. So it is like a whole thing, and we'll sit down and we'll speak about your pleasure practice. We'll speak about past partners. We'll speak about like your relationship to your yoni, to yourself, to your body. Then we'll ease in. We do like a meditation, grounding. We set intentions. We everything is done intentionally. So even removing of the clothes, you let go. You say what you want to let go of with each layer of clothing. And then we'll do like a whole body massage. Yeah, it's like it's really, really important actually for the body to feel completely safe and not just go straight in and everything is asked permission. Like, is that okay? Is that okay? Is that okay for the next step? And then you have to check in with yourself and just like what your body is saying. Maybe your body says no. Like maybe it gets to the point where we're going to enter and the body's like, no, actually not today. And that's totally okay. And it's so important to listen to those signals. And partly actually that's part of the work is that sometimes we haven't always listened to our body signals in the past. Like how many of us have maybe let in past partners that like maybe didn't deserve to be there. Um, and that's like rewriting those rules and actually just taking full empowerment and full responsibility for what we let into our body, what we let out of our body, and yeah, just owning that space.
Mm. I know you're going to be back on this because I'm like, there's hundreds of questions coming through my body. I'm like, we can talk about that and that and that. So, but I think something that is really beautiful is that actually, I don't know if men do it, but that it's a female thing. I mean, as in a female doing it to another female. I don't know if that's the right term, doing it, but or offering the practice. And I think that leads me quite nicely onto how you've also really healed me with my sisterhood wound, and how this is why this friendship is so like special and important for me, because it's unlocked ways of being in friendship, with a woman who that for me previously was unheard of or untouched. It was just, I don't know, we're in the same industry. Previously, I'd be like, so, I don't know, oh, she's got clients, she's got this, she's got this. Like the jealousy would be huge, or there would be just kind of this lack and scarcity mentality. So, whereas with you told me something this morning, and I was just like, oh my God, that's amazing. That's so exciting. And I think for me, that has been a really healing experience, which I've then been able to pass on to other friendships and relationships, because it's a huge healing of the sisterhood wound. So I don't know if that's what your experience of the sisterhood wound is, or yeah, how you found
Yeah,
it.
for sure. I feel like it's such a present thing is this idea of like women competing, right? Like the idea that there's only space for one of us in the room. And that kind of comes from like the patriarchy, like what better way to weaken women than to turn them against each other, and therefore through that turn them against themselves. And what better way to reverse that effect and strengthen the power of women is to come together and to share, because collectively we have so much that we can, so much support that we can give each other. And there is space for all of us. Like, this is like, when you realize that, then like, how much power is that? We can just like celebrate each other. And it's not like, oh, you achieved this one thing, so therefore there's no space for me to achieve it. Like, no, we can share and we can bounce ideas off each other. And yeah, that's been a huge journey for me as well, like with you and also with other sisters, and particularly I would say in Mazunte in Mexico, with all of this women's work. And then what we both do as well, like coaching specifically for women. Um, yeah, this new way of doing things where we all come together and we all share and we all support each other and bounce each other up.
Mm. Yeah, and I think it's the friendship and the support actually that has been really new for me. This feeling that people have my back. I don't have to be the only person that has my back. That I can, if I'm feeling low or I'm feeling like I just need someone to be like, you can do this, and be like, just give that little extra nudge and push. I know that I can call you or message or whatever, and it's there, that support is there, and there's no judgment. There's no, oh, why does she need this, or does she not have the confidence herself, or anything. It is this pure, again, what we mentioned earlier, but you I feel that you just see me in the best version of myself always, even when I'm lying on the floor, crying, naked on the bathroom floor, like just curled up on a ball, sending you a voice note, sobbing my heart out. You said it a few days ago that you are almost excited to see what magic comes from that low moment. And I think that was such a, because we can know those things, right? We can know, we'll go through the dark nights of the soul and we'll alchemize it and there'll be magic out of this and we can continue to grow and it's just a learning phase, etc., etc. But sometimes to have someone to hold that space for you, and I guess this is what you also do in the yoni massage and with your coaching, but it's that I think it's really undervalued, that ability for someone just to see you exactly as you are, and also as the version of the person that you want to be and the person that you want to step into. And they also see that and they also know that it is possible and that you are going to get there. And yeah, I mean, it's interlinked with all of your work, right? Just this holding space for people to, and you do it in your friendships. And I've noted that you've shared with your sisters as well. And I don't have any siblings. So for me, that again is another wow, because there is this real sisterhood and community, and I'm slowly building up in my own way. But yeah, I wanted to like the most thing is I just want to say thank you. And again, it's going to be another love note. Like, there you go.
I love these love notes. Yeah, and it's like it's kind of a two-part thing, right? Like on the one hand, we want to be strong and independent and powerful and know how to look after ourselves, and ultimately like we are our biggest support, and we want to be able to find everything that we need internally and not always be searching for the outside for all of the support and love and validation that we need. However, we can't always be running at 100%. Like we're not. It's unrealistic, and we need to also, as well as have that independence, also be able to fall back and be supported. And the ability to be supported is actually something that needs to be cultivated. Like a lot of us have kind of fallen into this thing like, well, it's kind of like the feminine thing, right? Like I'm as strong as a man and I'm independent and I can do everything. Like, yeah, we can do everything. And also we don't have to. And we've spoken about this a lot before. It's like also allow yourself to be supported for all of this. But also an anecdote on what you just said about yeah, when well either of us is at rock bottom, because we get there, everyone gets there, and I said that it makes me excited to see, like, obviously I'm sad that you're in pain, but also I'm so excited to see what happens next, because to me you're like a superhero movie where, like, where the main character, the superhero, gets knocked down, and then you think you think that's the end, but it's not going to be the end, because then like he just develops this other power, like suddenly he can like turn invisible, or he can like make a force field, or he can like grow another arm. And to me that's like, yeah, when I see you in the shit, whatever you're going through, I'm like, wow, I can't wait to see where, once you've alchemized this lesson, like where that then leads you, what next you're going to build, what next you're going to grow, what other superhero power you're going to develop from this situation. And it is that, it's seeing your friends when they're in the shit, not being like, oh God, poor you, you're in the shit. It's like also holding that space for them and like giving them empathy, but also you can see, while they can't see it necessarily in this moment, but you can see where, like, their higher self, you can still access their higher self, and you can see where this lesson is going to take them. And I think sometimes we just need that external person who can still see our power when we can't see it ourselves.
Absolutely. And you shared that superhero anecdote with me, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to grow an extra arm. And I was like, Ola, you are what's the word? A specific manifester. So let's not say, like, we've got to be very careful with our words at the moment. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll just have a force field or something. I'll take that instead rather than the arm. But absolutely, as I touched on it in my last podcast, kind of the end of the strong independent woman era of enough is enough. I think so many of us have proven to ourselves that we can do so much on our own. We can get through a lot of shit. And as you said, we don't need to do it on our own, and levels of support vary, right? So I definitely have some friends that I reach to for certain things, and I think this is something that we touched on this summer, that in through our various voice notes, is that because we're going through similar experiences and we're going through and building on similar businesses or in a similar industry, it's we have picked a different lifestyle, right? We have picked a very different way of living, and hopefully in some way it's becoming a lot more normal to do this, to kind of be think outside of the matrix, to question things, to really dream of a life that looks very different to what we've kind of been expected to imagine and dream of for ourselves. But I think something that I found was when I spoke to particular friends, it almost felt that I had to always be okay. And previously it was, I felt that I could share things with them and everything because we resonated, because we were kind of in the same planes almost that we were playing in, and we were kind of living the same similar lives and everything. But once I actually stepped out of that and we've stayed in touch, it's been hard to share open and vulnerably, because there is this fear that I've picked this alternative lifestyle, alternative in inverted commas, but I am almost a representative of that for them. Maybe they are not in contact with anyone else who has done this, or maybe they don't know anyone else who's kind of picked this lifestyle. And I almost felt that I had this pressure that I put on myself to be this is the way to go, this is the way forwards, this is the only way. And it was definitely this pressure of, I can't tell them that I lay on the bathroom floor crying last night and everything feels like it's falling apart, because then it's almost, I wanted to pull them over to the dark side, right? They weren't going to come over if they knew that it was a miserable life, or not a miserable life, but there were miserable moments, which I think come up in all parts of life, whatever you choose to do. But I know that we spoke about it this summer and just wanted to share a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah, it's like it is a very different life because for me and you, like the 9 to 5 doesn't exist. It's not like we have like 5 days on and 2 days off for the weekend. We don't know what country we're going to be in like next month, let alone next week. Like things are shifting and changing all the time. And people will plan, like, I've been invited to a wedding next summer, and everyone's like, yes, I'm free that weekend. And I'm like, God knows where I'm going to be next summer. Like, there are about 10 different countries I could be in. Like, who knows? So, yeah, it's very, very different. And sometimes I've had the exact same experience where I felt like I'm almost like the representative or like the spokesperson for this way of living. And therefore there's like this pressure that I have to prove that it was a good choice, or that I have to prove that it's like, yeah, that I've made the right decision and that I'm happier in this life than I would have been in the old life. And realistically, both versions, there's hard parts and there's good parts. Like life is a roller coaster. You're never going to have like all sunshine and rainbows. There's also the shit to go through. And maybe sometimes this one is even harder because, or feels even harder because we're actually facing the shit. Like in the old one, I was working, like for reference, I worked a corporate job for 2 years in London before all of this. And I still had bad moments, but I would just numb it out. I'd just go partying and I'd just drink a lot of alcohol or whatever I was doing. So it still existed, but I didn't sit with it and really truly feel it. And then maybe it didn't seem as bad. Whereas now something will come through and I'll be like broken, like feeling it. Like, I mean, I had a week, like for all transparency, I had a week in May where my sisters literally bathed me for a week because I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't do anything. And that was because I was truly, truly feeling it. Like if I was in this past version of me in corporate London, I would have just brushed it under the carpet and just kept going and completely ignored it. So yeah, it does sometimes feel like we have to be like, yeah, everything's great. You should do this too. Like this way of living is really working. And it is. But also there's bad parts. As with any way of life. And it really helps to have a friend who you can share so openly and honestly. And as we say, like they don't see you for the broken person that you feel like in that moment. They see you for the strong person that you truly are, and they remind you of that, and then you come out the other side.
Absolutely. And what you touched on is the numbing out. And I think that's what feels hard in this way of life, is because we are feeling it. And there isn't an escape. we have chosen this way of life, we've chosen this path to truly delve deep and to figure out what is going on. Why am I feeling these ways? Because at the end of the day, I think our souls, they're not anxious, they're not frightened, they're not fearful, they're not depressed, they're not all of these things. They are just very pure, very neutral, but it's kind of uncovering all of the conditioning that we've been put under and all the limiting beliefs that we've really taken on over our life, but and just like unpeeling them and kind of finding that like very peaceful part within us, but also knowing that we are human and we're souls having a human experience, right? And human experiences, we can either really feel them and feel the highs and the lows, or we can, as you said, completely numb it out and pretend like it's not happening. And I think it's easy to take the numbing out route. That is the easy option. This isn't, I think, I'm not saying that taking the option where you delve deep and get to the root core of things and really discover who you are and feel everything, it's not the easy option. It's hard. It is so hard at times, but it's so worth it at the same time. But I think and if we lived in a society where that was the norm, that, you had moon circles where you could go twice a month and share, or you could be very open about your period and be like, hey, my energy is like this at the moment, or you had ecstatic dances where you could just go and release whatever you needed to, having built up that day or that week, then it would be easier. But I think it's also hard because for me, I realized I was taking on a lot of shame as well for feeling these things, because the easy route, the numbing out route, that is the easy path because everyone's doing it. And there's such an element of difficulty especially when I first began this, I don't want to say journey, but different way of approaching things or different way of looking at things. It was incredibly lonely and isolating because I didn't feel that I couldn't explain it to anyone because I didn't feel that I'd had those conversations with, or they wouldn't resonate or they wouldn't understand. So again, coming back to why I value this friendship so much, because you get it.
Yeah, and by numbing out, we're not receiving the messages from those difficult emotions. Like, difficult emotions aren't there just there by accident. Like, we're feeling stress because something is overwhelming and it needs to be changed. Like, we're feeling fear either because it's like something that's outside of our comfort zone that we need to step further into, or maybe it's just genuine, like that isn't for us. Or like, yeah, you're feeling unsettled in a relationship, well, then you need to also approach it and like see like what is always a message from every emotion. So the lows, actually, they're not really like lows. They're kind of just like, yeah, there's just the lessons. It's just the way that they come through. But also on the flip side of like feeling that deeply into like maybe the harder parts, you also get to feel that deeply into the lighter parts. And oh my God, what can unfold when you start truly feeling those parts? It's like being high all the time. I mean, not all the time, just in the good parts, no. But like I have had ecstatic dances, or even just in Mexico when I'm riding on my motorbike, and there was this period of time where like I don't know what was happening, but everything was aligned, everything was just amazing. And if someone texted me and said, "How are you?" my eyes, I just started crying, like burst out crying with just like happiest tears I've ever had. Of just like, I'm amazing, and I just can't even contain it. Like I'd ride on my motorbike and I just have tears streaming down my face because it could feel it like as energy uprising inside me, and like the energy of love. I mean, one time I had this amazing ecstatic dance where we were all together at the end, and what's the song by John Lennon? Something about love. Anyway, we were all singing
All
it.
You Need Is Love?
Is it
Wait.
that? I think I would remember that. It's not. I don't know. Anyway, song by John Naylor. And I was just like, what is this thing that's happening to me? Like my whole body's tingling, like everything. And I was like, I'm on ecstasy. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm literally just high on love. Like, how cool is that? So, yeah, it's worth it. It's totally worth it.
Absolutely. And I think there is also that beauty of when you are in those low, dark moments, rather than feeling so confused by it and so lost in it, you're actually like, okay, I know this is really, really hard, but I know there's some magic on the other side of that. And even if that is the only glimmer of light that you have, just to be like, it has to get better because it does. It always does. And I think it can last for a while, right? It can last. That those dark nights of the soul can really last. I think so many think when people say dark nights of the soul, they're just, oh, it's just one night. It doesn't quite work like that. And I think almost the longer, the deeper, the harder, the more magic, the more alchemy, the more light that comes out of the other side as well. And if you struggle against that darkness, not that you miss out on the light, but if you suppress it, if you ignore it, if you numb it out, you're not going to feel that kind of balance on the other side, right? That light and love and joy. And it's that makes you almost want to go deep, and you're like, right, okay, if we're doing this, we're doing this. Like, let's do it and let's go in deep. But yeah, knowing that you don't have to do it on your own as well is key and crucial.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So thank you for being that
Thank
person.
you. Another love note sent your way. And I wanted to touch a little bit about our work and how this was another comment, because all of these topics that we're talking about just came from voice notes that we've had, and I was just writing down notes. And it was this moment that we were reflecting to each other that the work that we do is very much, there's a lot of people in this industry who for them it's very ego driven, and it's very, I don't know, I'm a healer, or I'm healing loads of people, or I'm helping loads of people, or I'm empowering loads of people. And actually what we were kind of both talking about this week was this, we've been shown repeatedly, both of us, that this is what we're here to do. And it keeps evolving, it keeps changing and growing. But actually we're just channels for the work that's meant to come through. And yeah, I don't know what your reflection was on that, because obviously we had the conversations via voice notes and things, but it was that also that, you know, we try to put ourselves in a category, we try to put ourselves on with a label, but actually it's more about what the work that we're doing. And there's so much attachment to these labels and things. I'm going off on so many different topics, but yeah, whatever you want to share about, because I think there's so much wisdom that you shared with me about it.
Yeah, it was. I think that you'd actually kind of already had this process before I had. Like, I had it fairly recently, where there was a lot of my human stuff was getting in the way. And there were a lot of things like creative ideas that were coming through me. And I was like, amazing, amazing, amazing. Like, that would be super helpful. And like, yeah, we know we're here to do this work. As Ola said, like, we've been shown through many different avenues. I mean, mine started with a palm reading in India, and it's just followed through since then. And there was just all this human shit of like these fears and this self-doubt, and then it was like, yeah, I want to do this workshop, it would help so many people, and then like, oh, but what if not enough people sign up, or these kind of things. And then at one point I was just like, get out of the way, like, this isn't about you, this is so much bigger than you. And as long as you keep putting your stuff in the way of it, like, you're blocking the work that needs to come through you. You're really like just a channel. It's very egotistical to get all caught up in my own like fears and self-doubts. And as soon as I realized that, I just started doing it. Like, it activated something, and it, yeah, turned into a lot more action than just like these ideas that then just got stuck at the point where they reached me. So yeah, that's definitely been an exciting realization. And I feel like you had the same one, where it's just remove yourself from the equation and just let it come.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think I had it earlier in the summer, kind of May, June, and it was just this message of like, just do it. Just get on and do it, because there will always be excuses. There will always be your mind coming into play stories. And my process up to that point was very much, well, let's sit with these. Let's sit with these fears. Let's sit with these limiting beliefs and doubts and figure out where they came from and try and release them. And actually, that was a big wake-up call for me of, if you're going to do that, you're not going to get anywhere in life, because there is only so much time. And you cannot spend your whole life analysing and figuring out every single aspect of your limiting beliefs, of all of your different processes. And actually, sometimes to get through them and to release them, you just need to go through them. Like, you need to just go headstrong and just drive through them. And like, even if you're screaming and being like, oh God, this is just so awkward, or this is like, even starting this podcast, it was this, but what if no one listens? But what if I don't speak very well? What if this? And I still notice these thoughts going on in my head now, but it's almost like, well, first of all, does it bring you joy? Yes. Second of all, does it feel good when you're actually doing it? Yeah. That's kind of my 2 criteria at the moment. And the third one, of course, is, could this potentially help someone in some way, shape, or form? Great. So let's just do it. Because as you say, I think it's very easy for our mind, and it is quite egotistical to withhold that wisdom and the knowledge that we've accumulated and we've learnt. And now is the time that whatever you want to call yourself, but a light worker or energy worker or whatever it is, this is a time we need to step up, because time is running out in some ways, right? We are creating a new world. But there is a limited amount of time before kind of shit really hits the fan, and there isn't a way back, right? And at the end of the day, is if we can just inspire one person to be truly who they are and to truly step up and show up and do whatever they can to the best of their ability that they actually want to do. And whether that's being an engineer or a lawyer or a energy worker or a dustbin man, if they are doing that with intention and with pure, in a way, choice, that, I choose to do this to the best of my ability, then that's enough. And yeah, removing ourselves from the equation and just sharing what needs to come through and just hoping it reaches someone and doing the aligned action and trusting that it will get out there. But yeah, it was definitely I don't know if I'm going to get like copyright for this, but just do it. Just do it. And work through and just get through those fears, and kind of, if you have time, work through the fears afterwards if you want to. But sometimes just going headstrong through them is the way to do it in some ways.
Yeah, and where you say that you were sitting with the fears, it was also like this idea of like, how many creative ideas have you had that came into your mind but never actually made it? Like, they got onto paper, but they never actually made it out into the world. And then the reason is that they get stuck in the mind, and then the mind creates all of these like the thoughts, right? And then the thoughts create like doubts and limiting beliefs and everything, and the ego gets involved, and then it just stops. So actually, the idea is to kind of get it on paper and get it into action before the thoughts get involved. Like, don't sit with it, because otherwise, as soon as the thoughts are involved, and the ego likes to get involved in all of this, so yeah, it really stalls the process.
Absolutely. And I think that's where my human design as well really helped, because for me, I'm the sacral. So I've got it. If I don't do something in that moment, I know my brain's going to switch off and like go off on a whole different story. And that's kind of my challenges. But how do you work with that with being an emotional authority? By the way, Em's an emotional authority, but a manifesting generator as well.
Yeah. So human design, manifesting generator, human authority, and a 6-2. And with the emotional authority, you basically have to ride the emotional wave. So you don't actually act immediately. So this is actually a really good point to make, is actually understand your human design. And Ola's got another podcast on it, so you can actually listen to how to do it, what your authority is and what to do with your authority.
Thanks for the little plug there.
Quick little plug. But seriously, it's very helpful, because if I was to listen to Ola and she was like, oh, I act immediately, then I'd start acting immediately, being like, oh, works for her, so it should work for me, right? But this is the thing, we're also individual and unique, and we have different ways of working. And mine is to actually sit with it and to ride up and ride down. So I'll have like this moment of super excitement, and then I'll have this moment of like, no, it's definitely not for me. And then I have to let it level out. And then once it's leveled out, I can make the decision. So actually not to be impulsive. And yeah, and that kind of touches on another theme, is like the theme of bio-individuality, the idea that we are all completely different in our needs, in our desires, in our dreams, in our purposes. And so in these friendships, I guess it's like, that's where there's space for everyone, right? We are all so completely unique. So we we kind of support the gifts of each other, but that doesn't overtake the gifts of ourselves because we're completely different. Like we have a different purpose. So someone else fulfilling theirs doesn't overtake us fulfilling ours. And one of the pillars of my coaching is to really dig into your bio individuality and figure out all of that. Like, what does your body need? Like, what does your mind need? Like, are you a morning person? Are you a night person? Like, are you a home person? Do you need to travel? Like, whatever things are. But what's your human design? What's your astrology? Just getting to know like really deeply ourselves. And then once you understand yourself, you can share it with your friends and then they can understand you because we don't work in the same way. So actually that's a big thing is like being able to communicate that and being like, hey, this is the way that I interpret these things, or this is the way I work, or I mean, even down to the fact that like my little sister, she has ADHD and she has to really explain to her friends, like, when I don't voice note you back, it's not because I don't love you, it's not because I don't care about you, it's just because I find it really hard and overwhelming to have all of these lists of voice notes that I have to get back on. So like that's a big thing with friendship is really communicating. So first you understand your needs and you communicate them to your friend and then you can both hold space for each other's individual needs. Um, yeah, and understand each other for who they really are rather than just assuming that we're all the same because we're not.
And it's a process, right? I know I will sometimes send you like a bombardment of voice notes, and at the end of it, I still say like, "And I'm really sorry that I bombarded you with all these voice notes. I hope that's okay." And you're like, and it's almost, but I almost now, because of the relation that we built up, it's that I trust that you will not feel pressured to answer them, not feel pressured to listen to them. I mean, some of our voice notes can go on for half an hour, 45 minutes easily,
Yeah.
and it's and it's but the trust that we have, that I can trust that you will listen to it when you have the time, that there's no pressure for you to reply in within a certain amount of time, that if I don't hear from you for a week, a month, of course I'll check in and check if everything's okay, but it's not like, hey, you haven't replied to my voice notes, it's just, hey, is everything okay? And I think it's that, but that's definitely taken time. And I think I completely forgot to mention at the beginning how we met.
Ah,
The
this is a
wonderful
good.
story, the meet cute. I would love for you to share actually, because I
Oh,
think, um, I mean, I've obviously got my run of events in my head, so I'll add in at the end, like my perspective, because I think that would be really interesting.
hmm. Yeah. Okay. So I feel like it was such a synchronous meeting. It was so beautiful and so amazing. So from my perspective, I can't remember like if it was hard for you to get to the TED Talk, but ultimately we met at this TED Talk, which was I can't remember the title. It's like How to Save the Planet. It was to do with climate change. Yeah. So I was working in a renewable energy insurance company. So it was quite expensive and I didn't have spare cash. So I was like, oh, shame, I can't afford to go. I really wanted to go. And I went to my manager. I was like, can you pay for it through the company? Because, it's about the climate, right? And she was like, no, I don't think that's going to fly. And then my colleague next to me overheard this and she just leaned over and was like, hey, check your inbox. And she bought me this ticket out of her own money. It was the kindest thing wow, that anyone had ever done in that company. It was so beautiful. So you didn't know this, did you? Yeah.
You can
So,
see my face. Like, what?
yeah. So I shouldn't have even really, I mean, I wouldn't have even been there. Anyway, go along and we were given like assigned seats. So it wasn't even like we felt each other that were there and we ended up sitting next to each other. We just sat in our assigned seats. And it was on like cute sofas as well. It was in one of those, what are those, what are the cinemas called?
The Everyman Cinema.
Oh, yeah, the Everyman cinema. So you're on a little cute sofa. And I think we started speaking in the interval, didn't we? Because we went to get brownies and you leaned over and you were like, hey, what flavour brownie do you have? And I was like, oh, I've got a white chocolate one. And then I can't remember how we got onto the moon, but somehow the moon came up. And then you were like, oh, well, it might be, I don't know whether to say this, but like, I work with the moon. And I was like, I love the moon too. And we just started speaking. And it was all of this stuff where we were like, kind of stuff that we might have hidden before from new people and been like, is that a bit out there? Like, maybe not for space all the time. Because, in the middle of London, you never know. People might not be that receptive to moon chat. And yeah, it just flowed. And then you mentioned that you were starting a coaching program. And I knew that there was something along the lines of coaching for me. I was looking to move out of corporate. I mean, I never intended to stay in corporate. Not that I'd admit that to the company. um, so yeah, you started speaking about the coaching. I was like, that's so amazing. Like, let's talk about it more. Um, and then we ended up walking back to King's Cross Station together, still chatting away. And then we were like, let's exchange numbers. It was really beautiful. It was so exciting. It was like a new friendship, but in a kind of, yeah, really cute way. Like, you'd meet a boy, like, oh, let's exchange numbers. And then we just started voice noting from day one, to be honest.
Mm.
It just developed from there.
Oh, still gives me like happiness vibes. It was such a, yeah, it was so beautiful. And I didn't remember about the allocated seats. In my memory, it was that I don't know if I had an allocated seat, but that was the only seat available that I saw. And because I went on my own, I was just like, oh, I'll just slip in there because it was literally at the end. It was the top corner. And I just moved back to London after living in Mallorca for 4 months. And I got 50% off the ticket because someone in a co-working space in Hammersmith was organising it, I think. So it was on a WhatsApp group or something. So that's how I got there. And I remember we both were talking at the end about how this one particular girl or woman resonated and all the rest didn't. And she really spoke about like how the connection to ourselves and will connect us back to the earth. And she was like part of Extinction Rebellion and everything. So the fact that we connected on that as well really, struck a chord. But I also remember that you had moon earrings on. And that I kind of looked and as we were starting to speak, and I was like, right, she's got moon earrings on. I'm in. This is like, I can say this. And that's why I think I started talking about the moon, because I was like, oh, I work with the moon. And I don't even remember what I said, but I just remember you looking and I just said, oh, I'm just starting a holistic life coaching program. And I remember you just properly turned in your seat towards me and you went, you're joking. You were meant to sit next to me. And I was like, okay. What? Like, oh God, what have I said? And yeah, it was just mad. And then I remember walking all the way back to King's Cross and getting your number. And then I couldn't find you because in my head you were Emily. And I was like, oh my God, did she give me a fake number? Like all of this stuff, but you'd put M. And then you messaged me. So I was like, oh, okay, phew, like, thank God. But then I remember calling my mum literally straight away and being like, I just met the most incredible girl. You'll never guess what we spoke about in London at a TED Talk. Like, what is going on? And it was just, yeah. So it was magic. And I just remember the first time that we met after that, we spoke for about 4 or 5 hours in Camden. Didn't even buy a drink. We just actually sat down and never ordered a drink the whole time we were there. And then that was the start. And that was only a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
Yeah,
and look where we're now.
Like when I woke up in the morning, I didn't know the impact that my moon earrings were going to make. Like that was just seemed like a small decision, but like always go with your intuition because it knows.
Nice little plug for intuition as well. And I think also what you were saying earlier about how we're also individual and unique, and I think that's also a benefit of growing up and growing older, because you figure out what you don't like and you figure out, and the fact that you wore your moon earrings even though you went to a corporate job and there was still so many parts of you shining through even in that time. And yeah, just watching you step more and more into that version of you, that it's strange because for me you are always that person. You are the person that is going to get and achieve all these dreams and all of these things. And I think maybe that's just part of us being human, that we do forget ourselves. But for me, nothing ever changes. You are always that person, whatever blips you have, whatever low moments or super high or whatever wave you're on. For me, you're always the same, right? Or you're always just stepping more into that next version of you. So I guess it's what we touched upon earlier. I always see your growth. When we think, oh, I'm taking a step backwards or whatever, I'm like, no. Like this is a step forwards in my eyes. So it's magic to see. And as I said, I can't wait to see what happens in Mazunte, and maybe I'll be out there and yeah, we'll see what creations what happens. But is there anything else that you wanted to touch on or share? I mean, you're obviously coming back so on the podcast. So there's no question about that. So I've already like noted down loads of other things to talk about. But yeah.
Amazing. I love that. No, nothing that particularly comes up, but just a general kind of gratitude. And I don't want to do any more like super intense love notes because can save that for later. But yeah, just general gratitude and appreciation for you, and just thank you for seeing me, and thank you for holding me together when I can't hold myself together. And yeah, thank you for being my biggest cheerleader. I'm so grateful.
Right back at you. Yeah, I'll keep it short and succinct. I'm like, and then I'll start crying once this is over. But if people wanted to find out where they can connect with you or find out more about what work you do, where can they find you apart from in Mazunte in Mexico?
Apart from on the ground, although little plug for Mazunte, if you ever find yourself over that direction, do come and dance with us. It's very fun. You can find me on Instagram at Soul Health Holistic, SOL Health Holistic. Also on Substack. How do you find me on Substack? I think it's just Soul Health.
Just whatever your name, yeah.
Yeah, it's just Soul Health. Yeah, so that as well.
Amazing. And you're offering coaching programs at the moment?
Yes. So I've got empowerment coaching 1-to-1. There's a couple of options, 3 months or 6 months. And if that feels like it's calling you, then just go on my Instagram, and then there's a little a link to a discovery call, and we can just have a chat about what you're looking for. But it's geared around the themes of self-love, empowerment, bio-individuality, which we spoke about earlier, and intuition. So yeah, if that feels resonant to you, then drop me a message. And also I have a workshop coming up on Tuesday the 12th, 7 p.m. We're doing a purpose workshop, which I'm super excited for. I feel like this is a big theme in the collective at the moment, which I'm hearing a lot about, people just questioning, what is my purpose? Am I living my purpose? How do I find it? How do I live in more alignment with it? So we're going to be exploring all of those questions, just talking about what it is, and then do some journaling on it, do some sharing. It's just going to be a really cozy, casual space. Bring a cup of tea, light a candle, and come and chill with us on Tuesday nights.
Amazing. And you're also going to host a workshop on Saturday, the 23rd of September, live from Mexico. So Em will also be there, and I'll be posting more details about the online retreat day below. But yeah, I'll also post all of your links below. So if anyone wants to find you, they can just easily find you through that. But yeah, just again, so much gratitude, and thank you. And can't wait to see you on the next episode. Thank you. Love you so much.
Love you.
This week's card pull is the Star Keeper. The cosmic ancestor seed the light by staying grounded. We've had this before. I'm pretty sure we had this a couple of weeks ago. So if you're watching the video, that is the card. Yes, we definitely have. Have we? I feel like we have, because I mentioned the portal through the heart. And again, there's a lot of energies at the moment, and I feel like that's exactly what I said last time. But we will be approaching eclipse season in a month or so. The first one is, I believe, on the 14th of September. That's a lie. 14th of October on the Saturday. That is the opening of the eclipse portal, and then we're in that for the full cycle until the next new moon. So we can already start to feel, I think, the energies of that really beginning to pull us right now. What the eclipses really bring up is this: they activate the north and south nodes in our astrology. So if you look at your birth chart and you look at your astrology birth chart, you will find the north and south nodes, and these will be in particular signs. So every eclipse will activate these north and south nodes. And what these nodes are, they're really useful. They're really if you haven't looked into them, I would highly recommend it. Just have a play, to see if they resonate. When I discovered mine, it made so much sense. And I love working with them, actually. And I love the eclipse season because so much does change when you become aware of it and when you become really conscious. So your south node is really your comfort zone. It is what, you've been doing in your past lives, what you are very comfortable with, what is just easy in a way. Your north node is here to really discover or to show you what you are here to do in this lifetime. And it's really showing you how you can push your boundaries, how to push your comfort zone, and what boundaries you need to put in place around that. It is really here to push you. And that is really what eclipse season is here to show you. It's especially look at the house and look at the sign that it's in, because these can be, and then Google it. There's so much information out there. But it's really, I think a lot of people at the moment are almost in that middle ground between the south and the north node. And it's that kind of discomfort of not fully understanding or knowing what your purpose is, which is very helpful because Em's got that workshop on purpose on Tuesday. But the north and south node can really help start to get the cogs whirring in your head. So again, stay grounded during all of this time. We are going through a lot of transitions as a planet, as a collective. There is a lot of energy at the moment. For me, there is this very collective sadness at the moment. For me, it got activated by something that happened about a month ago, some news that I heard, and it's ever since then it's kind of been this like underlying sadness and underlying heaviness within my body. And it really does feel that is kind of what the collective is holding and experiencing right now, the state of the planet, the state of our relationships with other people, with the planet. And rather than trying to fight it, I'm just allowing it to sit. I'm allowing myself to sit with it, to allow it to flow through. But again, keep staying grounded. And rather than, if you are feeling the sadness, let it be, but also allow yourself to experience the joy, allow yourself to shine, allow yourself to really continue to thrive, and don't allow it to cloud or shadow your judgment or making you think that maybe this isn't something that you're meant to be doing. Keep going on, keep staying grounded. We need you to do what you're doing right now. Lead from the heart, lead from your intuition, lead from your heart, and allow things to just drop in rather than trying to fight anything. Thank you so much, and I will see you at the next episode. Mwah! Thank you so much for watching another episode of Fully Blooming. If you're feeling inspired and motivated, please share with anyone you think may benefit from this video, and comment below if you have any ideas, suggestions, or comments about future episodes that you'd like to know about. Thank you so much for your support, and see you at the next episode.